You're watching Autofocus, the country's premier auto news and features TV magazine. Up next is our Q&A. As some of you may already know, we have reformatted our Q&A segment to make it more interesting and more informative. We'll still concentrate on questions sent in by our viewers regarding the automobile and its industry, and include those that would come from the members of the motoring media who we shall invite together with our resource person. Here's this week's pre-recorded Q&A. Welcome to the Q&A segment of Autofocus, your premier auto news and features TV and online magazine. Our Q&A this week shall center on very interesting topics like the newly launched vehicles of TMP or Toyota Motor Philippines, namely the all-new Altis, the Innova, and the Wigo, and their unprecedented 12th consecutive year of dominance of the Philippine automotive market. And honoring us with his presence here in Autofocus is no less than the president of Toyota Motor Philippines, Mr. Michinobu Sugata. We're very privileged to have you, sir. Welcome to Autofocus.
Thank you.
And we're also very much honored with the presence of two of the country's recognized, knowledgeable motoring journalists. On Mr. Sugata-san's right is the motoring section editor of the Manila Bulletin, Mr. Inigo Roses of the famous Roses clan of writers. Inigo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
And on my left is the sometimes controversial, but always a standout for his journalistic skills, Mr. Vernon Sarne, the editor-in-chief of Top Gear magazine. Vernon, welcome to Autofocus.
Yes, sir. Thank you for...
Now, with your permission, gentlemen, let me start the ball rolling with our first question to the TMP president, Sugata-san. Early this year, Toyota Motor Philippines launched the all-new Altis. Altis. Tell us what is new in the all-new Altis.
I see. It's a full model change of color Altis, 11th generation of color Altis, and we completely redesigned the exterior, interior, and we extended the wheelbase by 100 millimeter. So it was completely new on the styling, and also 1.6 liter. We put CVT as automatic transmission. It creates a smooth driving.
I want to ask about sir the Wigo, if you don't mind. In December, you told me that your sales target for the Wigo is around 500 units a month.
Yes.
But now that you've launched it, is that still the same target?
Yes,
for the Wigo?
same target. We launched February 18, only a half month sales. We were able to sell 200 units, and we had a reservation of nearly 700 units. So I'm quite confident to hit 500 units a month.
Now, sir, the Wigo is a C-segment hatchback, one of the smallest you offer.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this is not your only hatchback. Of course, if I can say, in a few weeks from now, you'll be launching yet another hatchback, highly anticipated one at that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the market's perception towards hatchbacks is changing? I mean, beforehand, typically we noticed that the sedan versions do very well here, but hatchbacks are not as well. No?
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think buyers' minds are opening up to the idea of a hatchback?
Well, at this moment, the mainstream of passenger car is sedan.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, probably 80% is people like sedan. But as market diversify, probably we can generate the demand for hatchback as well, because it is lighter, it's a better fuel consumption, and it is very convenient to put the luggages. So it's quite useful and versatile.
Now, going back to the Wigo, I heard somewhere that one of the reasons probably that you focused on this segment. Actually, they call it a new segment, because even in our Autofocus People's Choice Awards, we still don't have this segment, hatchback, purely hatchback. Is that you noted a 150% increase in sales in this particular segment, and you're not there. So Wigo has to come to the Philippines. Now, why do you think was there such an increase in sales in this particular segment?
Well, I think it's quite a promising segment. We call this A segment, small hatchback with affordable price, gradually increasing as the economy in this country develops. Actually, we came up with the idea to put Wigo in this country. It is about 4 years ago. When I came to the Philippines in 2010, again, I saw a lot of people shopping. It's no longer a place for having a cool. So I thought that economy develops, people's income level increase. So this segment is quite promising. So I have been asking TMC and Daihatsu to put Vigo in the Philippines market. Then probably 4 years later, it came through.
That's forward thinking, I would say.
Yeah, I think
The kind of thinking that gives a president of Toyota in the Philippines an extension of another 3 years, I guess.
Sir, you have been the Philippine car market leader for the last 12 years, am I right?
yes,
12
as long
consecutive
as-
years.
yeah, 12
And every year your sales just, increase year after year. And for 2014 your target is 90,000
90, yeah.
units. How do you intend to keep this up for the, next probably decade?
I see. Well, economy develops, car market increase. That's for sure. So we can increase our sales, along with market increase. Toyota values customers first. So customer satisfaction is quite important for us.
And now, sir, looking at your models, like the Altis, for example, I think a lot of buyers have been noticing that every full model change, the vehicle grows quite a bit. And
That's
now
right.
the Altis is enormous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and this happens with all of the segments, not just the compact segment,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So, is it safe to say that your top selling models are now moving down the, I guess, hierarchy of the stable? Whereas it used to be the Corolla some 10, maybe 15 years back.
Mhm.
Now we see the Vios taking the
Mhm.
top selling badge in the
Mhm.
Toyota lineup.
Mhm.
Will we see this happening with the Wigo? Do you foresee it?
I don't think so. Because it is developed by Daihatsu, so they are very good in producing, making a small car like Vigo, 1 liter. In Japan, they are very popular. Less than 1 liter car. So that's their expertise. I don't think they will make the car bigger.
Going back to your 12 consecutive year of dominance of the Philippine automotive market, how do you find this developing scenario wherein there is a Indian-made brand that has come in? I heard another Indian-made brand is being negotiated, and then Nissan has restructured its presence in the Philippines, meaning the Japanese side will be actively in. How would you address this and still stay on top? Yeah, they say it's harder really to stay on top than go for the top.
Actually, we welcome many entrants coming into the Philippines because it stimulates demand differently. So, of course, we have threat. Some competitors are very strong, and market, frankly speaking, is very competitive. So, well, as I mentioned earlier, to stay on top is customer satisfaction is really important. So we'll take care of our customers as much as we can to make them happy. So we just want to be rewarded by the customer smile.
Sir, one of the new models that you launched this year is the Innova. As we know, it's related to the Fortuner and the
Hilux.
Is it safe to assume that new versions of those two models will be brought in soon?
Yeah, of course, yes. I think it's a matter of time. Development stage already started. So probably the same concept as current model.
But earlier we were talking about the Innova, and I just learned that this is still the first generation of Innova.
Strictly speaking, yes. We had a change in 2 years ago, but it was not full model change. And this February we made a change, but it's kind of a facelift. So it's still first generation.
Now, sir, with regards to the Innova, since it shares the platform with the Fortuner and Hilux, both of which are, I think, safe to say, very hardcore off-road vehicles, is it difficult to adapt that platform to a more city-bound car like the Innova, or I guess a more multi-purpose bound
Well,
car?
I don't think so. We can make it suspension softer, even if it's a frame vehicle. But for the Philippines market, I understood that the customers want softer riding, for example, Fortuner. And of course, we have to represent the voice of the customers. We talk to the engineer, Toyota engineer, but we have some conflict. Engineer has their own way of thinking. This is off-road car.
Yes.
They can make it the suspension a bit softer, but probably not soft enough for Philippine customers because they use SUVs on the city road, not off-road.
Notwithstanding, you still want to support a common platform for, let's say, these three models like you did for the Innova, Hilux, and
Fortuner.
Fortuner, you still support that?
Yes, yes, yes. It is very, very beneficial for cost-wise.
Sir, I would like to ask about the shift in market preferences as far as the Philippine market is concerned. In the 90s, the preference was, compact sedans, and then it became the MPVs,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Innovas. And then it shifted to the subcompact cars like the Vios.
Yes.
Do you see this market preference staying for a long time, or do you see where is the market preference going?
Well, Philippines is an emerging country. Car market is definitely growing, but with a change, market is changing right now. Subcompact passenger car, I think it's still very popular, and continues to be very popular. But for MPVs, gradually demand is shifting from MPV to sport utility vehicle.
Okay.
So that's market is changing. After we introduce Wigo in the A segment, maybe the A segment demand may increase more, probably more than a subcompact sedan segment.
So you see the Wigo eventually overtaking the Vios?
In terms of a number of sales, it can. It can. As I said, 500 units a month target, but it may increase to 1,000.
Sorry, dwelling on, of course, the Vios, that's a vehicle that's manufactured here. And Toyota has been manufacturing cars here for quite some time. Now, I think some people would notice that certain countries in the ASEAN region have, in a way, developed a niche when it comes to manufacturing. I mean, Thailand has the pickups and SUVs. India, I think, has specialized in small cars. Do you feel that the Philippines' ideal niche is manufacturing these subcompact sedans? Is it something we should stick to and maybe develop?
Yes. We are currently manufacturing a subcompact sedan, Vios, and a multi-purpose vehicle, Innova. I think we have the right choice. So these two cars, two segments, continues to be stable or grow. So depending on the market changes, we may have to introduce another model to be produced here.
I see.
Sugata-san, admittedly, the Philippine automotive market is at its best last year. As a matter of fact, it has been at its best since it started. But despite the fact that it is at its best last year, of course, it can be better. To make it better, what do you think should the government do?
Firstly, I appreciate government efforts. Philippines has been recording the very high growth in terms of GDP, and on top of that, government should do something to create job opportunities. They have to tackle the unemployment. So once everybody find a job here in the Philippines, well, as well as overseas, the economy will grow much faster.
You are already in manufacturing. Although we notice that there are car companies that are still centering on their importing enterprise. What do you think should the government do to encourage those who are just importing vehicles to probably engage in manufacturing to support what you're saying, that it would create more employment and better opportunities for the Filipinos?
The Department of DTI is positively studying how to promote, how to support the automobile manufacturing industry. So we are now waiting for the result of the roadmap of the automobile manufacturing.
Before we let our good friend Sugata-san go, no, we won't let you sing. Don't worry. There's no backup band, so no singing.
Can I ask
Yes,
just one last
yes,
question,
yes.
just out of curiosity, out of all the competitors that you have here in the Philippine market, what's the most intriguing brand to you? I mean, threat-wise, which brand? If you can pick just one, what?
Difficult question. I cannot pick up only one because for me everybody's threat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not keeping a special eye on just one brand.
That's the gentleman rocker of a president, Sugata-san, that we know. Okay, no more questions, gentlemen. So I guess we'll have to let our distinguished guests go. But before we do, any message to our Filipino viewers?
Dear customers, thank you very much for supporting Toyota for a long time. Thanks to you, we are able to attain the 12th consecutive Triple Crown title in the Philippines automotive industry. Thank you once again.
And on that note, we end our Q&A this week. We hope we were able to ask the questions that those of our viewers would like to know. And before we go, we'd like to thank our guests tonight. Of course, Mr. Inigo Roses, the motoring editor of the Manila Bulletin, and Mr. Vernon Sane, the editor-in-chief of Top Gear. And of course, our esteemed guest, Mr. Michinobu Sugata, who despite his hectic schedule still found time to join us today. Until the next time here on the Autofocus Q&A. That's this week's Q&A, reformatted on its second edition. We'll have the highlights of a recent industry event coming just right up ahead. Stay watching. I'll be right back.